So AV been kind of sad and bitter and full of rage lately for some reason, and so since Disney is the source of all me ills, I, of course, spent a lot of time on Disney Plus in the last few months. After watching Mona for roughly the 400th time, I started watching The Little Mermaid a lot, so we gonna talk about The Little Mermaid. Well, this is the brand now, and all of the effort it deserves, you get nothing, so why The Little Mermaid? Well, I kind of wanted to reevaluate how my feelings on the movie had changed because it was mildly like a detractor at some point in history. I think I want to know, what are you gonna do about it? I guess I could stand up for myself. Yes. Yes, no. I'm trying to not wait for a man to save me. Like, am I the only one who remembers the lazy Disney pop feminisms of the 2000s? Because I am gonna go out on a limb and say that those hot takes that called out Disney movies as not being girl boss enough, I'm not under the sea but standing on dry land. The moral of me stories changing for a man these criticisms that have been incorporated into like 10 Disney movies ever since Aliens Attack. Let's Go girls have aged more poorly than the movies themselves, especially The Little Mermaid. So we remaking offing out of it. I guess I'll make it into a list of mean lists used to do well in the algorithm. Todo says, oh you, they'll, these, I don't know if they still do pathetic, and we gonna do it in two sections. First, we gonna talk about the bad feminism of the 2000s and 2010s, because that's something I haven't really seen much reevaluated, and then the gay shit because it's Pride Month. It's time to talk about some gay shit. Let's go lesbians. Let's go lesbians, excuse me, lesbians coming through. So this is like the top something number about The Little Mermaid. Somebody should find that poor animal and put it out of its misery. Part 2, something feminism. So one thing of the like we kind of need to no metaphorically smashes the lens of the lazy pop feminism of the late 2000s, through which we have all for some reason agreed to view Disney princess. Through did I have to assume you made a deal with an underwater sea witch where she took your voy of view? So, 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 po, 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 zio, po, 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 view. Po, view, po, bio, po, 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 view, po, 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 I view you, use you, I will use you, po, view, zio, 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 use you, view you, view, 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 please you, view, 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 zio, view you, view, view, zio, view, zio, view you, view, view, zio, view, 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 zio, 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 view, zio, view, zio, view, zio, zio, view, view, zio, zio, view, view, zio, view, 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 zio, view, zio, view, zio, view, 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 zio, view, view, zio, view, zio, view, 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 zio, view, 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 view. No, good Lord, how would you do that? Wait, you got engaged to someone you just met that day? Yeah. Anyway, I'm a lesbian, yeah. Anyway, like for a while in the late 2000s, these memes are all over the place. Save a prince's life with her only asset, her sexuality. Did we even watch the same movie? Stupid. So in addition to this really lazy, one-dimensional bad faith reads of all these movies, we also had the princesses era bad role models for my daughter's movement, a 2007 article by Barbara Ahernreich reads, Disney likes to think of the princesses. This is how I assume she talks. Disney likes to think of the princesses as role models, but what a sorry bunch of wusses they are typically. They spend much of their time in captivity or waking up only when a prince comes along and kisses them. So the thing about Disney princess is it's not a trope. It's a brand. It's a marketers baby this is brand reach it's baby cc they definitely they that is the same thing they realize it they will send you to send the seven to deal fam those sale they on they are the deep plan seven to this seven sale the well peel is the sound then then the deal the deal boots the deal the seal to hell deal deal there's a you tape the deal you deal says deal is bell 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 deal seal deal you well why will do the deal why deal the deal why one of you is you dinner one you follow we will do the new DT well you deal well while the DT said while the city while the we believe the well the what do you keep this of the whatever do to see this DT well do there's a deal we do well probably you baby picture very too well Barley, listen, bio, to be, Kazizzi, Pilotu, Baruti, Pilotu, Pilot, 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 Fair, Pilot TV, Pilot, Pil, Pilot, Pacific, Pilot, Pyro, Pyrrhus, 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 Pro, Bio, Bio, Pyrrhus, Bear, Pyrrhus, Bow, Power, Pyrrhus, Bow, Bolter, V, Private review to deal review to serve severe will. What is this severe will serve severe review? Well, and is it a snack on the dining plan? Well, come see us at Disney Parks Mom's panel come, and that is worth interrogating, but to frame Disney princesses is inherently harmful because they might widen the pay gap or something is just so inherently dishonest and kind of revealingly misogynistic in its own right. The question of how the Disney brand indoctrinates children is a question with no clear answers, and it's not really compelling enough to get people mad to click on the clickbait, so they have to frame it as Disney princesses are harmful. Actually, Kaylee might end up as a nurse instead of a CO. Ariel is the reason for the wage cap. So while I think these discussions are worth having, it turned real stupid real fast, like we went from how might Disney princess influence girls' self-perception and reinforce heteronormativity to pretending like they had any concrete answers to these questions. Yes, the wage gap. It's all Ariel's fault anyway. It's a really shallow use of your pop feminism and a vote that we retire it now. Please part feminism something 0.5 Ariel's voice. What I want from you is your voice, me voice. The bad feminism of that era also had this focus on Ariel's literal voice, which is just such a hyper-literal reading of the movie of under the Thermians didn't it? Cause, well, this is, well, this is, well, Leo's. Well, you do zoo. Well, we say, they read not all historical documents. I mean, surely you don't think that Gilligan's Island is of those poor people. Eric Doe isn't like her because she's silent. If anything, it's to spite. Eric Doe doesn't he know her. When he falls in love with her voice, he falls in love with an idea. You can to speak and you couldn't be who I thought, but in the 3 days that they hang out he actually gets to know Ariel, who he thinks is, you know, Eric, that's the first time I've seen you smile in weeks, and eventually he kind of likes her for who she is, even though she dozed. Have the one thing he was so hung up on that hot-ass voice. Ariel is basically a space alien, and Eric cool with the hey, who you, who you, who you, who you, see, you, Pale, 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 you, oh, and unalive visit as another. I have a night. I receive. I have. I receive this. As a valley. I have a zephyr better. I have a lead. As this. And although I have a liar. Visible. I away the then and go. Oh, read. I do. I read to do. I always go there. This is I on the line, on the line, on the line, on the line, on the way view to the view to the and the line, I will view to view as to do permanently to view I found the higher. I don't know. They say down. I don't know. I don't know. You're alone. I overwrote. Okay. I don't know. They say, I will. I don't know. I don't believe. Do. I am. I do. I am. But that's not what happens in the Anderson story. Instead of being in service to a mortal guy, she enters the service of the ultimate patriarch for 300 years. No less either way, it's not her choice to do this thing, and it certainly isn't an empowering tale of autonomy. It is which patriarchy do I subsume myself to in order to get that immortal soul to a god or to a husband. And I certainly don't think that Hans Christian Andersen was trying to make an empowering tale for young feminists, so yeah, just let Ariel have the lady. Let her have her sparkly 80s dress. It's fine part 4 true love, so Disney films of the 2000s and the 2010s, they wanted to demonstrate growth within the brand, and much of this was characterized by metatextual criticism of earlier Disney canon Snow White, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and even The Little Mermaid, which at the time was barely 20 years old. And no, it's not that fairy tale book you wanted, but this. That way do that go do doing grab do queer do We got Enchanted Dawn to see it's okay, you know. Let's just walk. We got Tangled did Rapunzel. And I ever get married, but after years and years of asking and asking and asking, I finally said yes. We got it in Frozen. I You can't marry a man. You just met you can if it's true love. Whoa. Did we get it in Frozen? I could kiss you could I mean I'd like to Maya Ralph breaks the internet. Do you have daddy issues? Thanks. I hate it so the function of the DT passive passivity passivity pasmot passivity passivity savvy savvy they savvy 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 real that review the review the review the real review to that's a review to YouTube. That's a review. That's a review. By the review to review. Come those do whoa. Come do whoa. Come do come review YouTube. Come review. Cavalier with Cavalier to view so tail view so tail view to tail so tail do so clearly you to shield to you tail clearly curves so whale tail whale tell you so tell you present you tell you tell you tell you tell you tell you tell you maybe they fall in love fast, quote. You know fall in love, but they're there. It's never any definite time with regard to the marriage thing tangled. Whoa. You waited 18 to 24 months. Well, we don't to know that didn't happen in Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty or 101 Dalmatians or even a Little Mermaid, like we don't to know how much time elapsed between true love's kiss and marriage, so you not even subverting anything Disney. Come on. So this metatextual, we took a minute to make sure our feelings are real dosed, actually contradict any of the old movies. Yes, even Cinderella and Snow White. The thing about true love is it's a narrative utility thing. It does have to be super literal, especially in movies with literal magic in it, where love is hinted to be this magic power. I will make you a potion that will turn you into a human for 3 days. Got that? 3 days in The Little Mermaid. It functions as a ticking clock. 3 days feels urgent. Okay. Heavy. Teo, 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 you to teo, 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 zero, teo, 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 you, teo, zero, teo, 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 well, zero Oh, so that's why I'm super sick of this form of Disney metatextual criticism. It feels like growth, but it isn't. Just because it doesn't actually contradict anything, because if it did, that would be bad part. Something character arc. So in screenwriting terms, a character arc is often defined by a want versus the need. The character has a want, which is usually an external motivation, and a need, which is so very by bias versus by by bio you then there by the zero the 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 while I like having nice tits. Okay, maybe that's a bad example. Must be weird not having anybody on you. Okay, Aladdin wants to, be rich and get the girl, but what he needs to do is like learn to be honest about who he is. There is a simple one, but Disney does this all the time. So in The Little Mermaid, Ariel does have a concrete want to be, an external motivation, a want to be where the people are, but not really a need. She doesn't really need to learn anything. She doesn't really grow during the narrative. She has a goal. She strives for it at the end. She gets it. So ambiguous. The question is, does the character need to have growth in order for there to be a satisfying arc? Usually in early Disney movies. They don't, with the exception of movies like Pinocchio. Generally, the arc for princesses is wants to get married and does, and if there's any character growth, it's probably some like side character like, like Grumpy learns who not hate women anymore, or the good fairies. I don't know, I can't maybe that. It's a Miss Ariel doesn't have any internal conflict about her journey, but has to come from Sebastian. But here's my point about all this. This isn't a bad choice. It's just a choice there. A storytelling truism being that the protagonist is more compelling if they have some hesitance before embarking on their adventure, and Ariel really doesn't. Now. She was just looking for an to get them a real well, it's a really where we lose through the views through sure, where, where we lose so, where, 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 where is it? Where, where, where is it? Where is it? Where is it view? Where is it? Where is it? Where is you? Where is you? It's not always the protagonist. A popular example of this is from Mad Max Fury Road. Who is the protagonist? Unambiguously, it's Max. He's the point of view character. His growth defines the narrative. But whose story is it? Well, it's Furiosa's story. She is the one who chooses to liberate their wives. It's her actions that spur the plot. She is the one who's pursuing her lost home. She's the one who realizes that her home is now long gone, and she's the one who ultimately learns that maybe the real green place is the friends we made along the way. So The Little Mermaid as a movie is not Ariel's story. It's King Triton's story. Ariel is the point of view character. She is the protagonist, but the character whose growth actually drives and defines the story is Triton. Then, there's just one problem left. And what's that, Your Majesty? How much I'm going to miss her. And the conflict that drives the plot is this power struggle between Triton and Ursula. Why King Triton? King Triton begins our story as an overprotective father who doesn't to support his daughter's interests or pursuits. He takes it way too far when he finds out she's been hoarding human stuff. Immediately regrets it after he goes overboard, and Ariel also very justifiably fucks off. And Ariel being pretty passive in the third act, in large part because the twist in the third act is Triton giving up his power. Well, it kind of works because, again, it's not Ariel's struggle. It was the power struggle between Ursula and Triton that was the main conflict, where Ursula figured out how to make this horny hot dummy into a pawn in their proxy war. That said, I'm not saying it's perfect. I do kind of feel like Act 3 of The Little Mermaid is the weakest link. The elements at play here during Ursula a gigantism episode are a little random. None of it's really set up except for the idea that there are ships on the bottom of the ocean. There's no Chekhov's Ursula getting big. There's no Chekhov's ship's bow. Eric is established as an accomplished helmsman. It's not bad. It's just not as strong as later Musker and Clement movies like Aladdin or Mona. Aladdin has a really solid ending because Aladdin is set up as kind of being a little manipulative jerk. No, I never actually wished to get out of the cave. You did that on your own. It's one of his chief characteristics. He tricks the genie earlier and then he tricks Jafar at the end, and the idea of genies as prisoners is well established. You wanted to be a genie. You got it. So, yeah. Is what I'm saying is the lack of an internal conflict is not necessarily bad, especially when there a compelling external conflict. But I feel like Ariel's passivity is not really indicative of like feminist fails so much as the third act just kind of being kind of random. We need to wrap this movie up so long. Lovey boy, all right. So now it's time to talk about the gay shit. What the fuck? Number 6, Adaptation and the Gays. Another thing you always see with critics of Disney movies with regard to adaptation is something they change the ending, or that you remove the dark shit or whatever. Oh, it doesn't look good. It's hopeless, absolutely hopeless. Probably the biggest adaptational change in The Little Mermaid, aside from the ending, is the original story's focus on the mermaid not just wanting the prince, but wanting an immortal soul. See, mermaids, like the Danish themselves, don't have souls. They just live a long time. But when they turn into sea foam, then like humans who get heaven everlasting. It's a pretty short story, but honestly getting to the end of it is kind of heart-wrenching. The mermaid gives up everything for this guy only for him to patronizingly go on about how he's her little foundling. If he falls in love with her she gets a soul, but you know he does. He spends the whole story just kind of being really patronizing to her and treating her like a child. It's bio, 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 you, you, whale, you, you, well, zio, bio, you, zio, bio, bio, you, oh, you, pale, oh, zio, oh, 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 you, shoe, you, view, shoe, you, oh, you, shoe, you, deal, you, be, you, oh, you, higher, you, I don't know you have you You can't talk dogs are idiots. Think about it, Smithers, if I came into your house and started sniffing at your crotch and slobbering all over your face, what would you say? If you did it, sir. Be married that should you the summer if you be the summer to see the you the so the so the or so do the so then who will well see your movie so you know so children when you visit the movie well war over you because you will so you feel well so you that you so will so you show you will you show do you be a wall for you wow you wow we will subdue you do you well, she needs that immortal soul, but anyway, the book is gay af because like, come on. The mermaid wants this guy, and he's like, oh, you re such a good friend, man. If only I was into you, we could totally get married. If only I was, you know, into people like you, like even just reading this, you re like Hans Christian Andersen wrote this about a guy. Right. Maybe Hans Christian Andersen was possibly asexual, but you know definitely aromantic, and he had a lot of love letters, many of them unsent, to this own guy who never ended up returning his affections. So you can tell this is a story about a longing for a person you can to be with, and how that person doesn't really want you, and how that causes you pain every time you were near them. So you want this dude you keep Sant Seth Seth Seven Subsidy, passive, says, passive, seven, seven, passivity, seven, says, passive, 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 seven, passive, passive, VCs, PowerVCU, passive, VOs, Pyro, positive, 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 view, bad, positive, positive, ZCU, positive, view, positive, positive, parallel, positive, parallel, positive, private, private, viewer, private, 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 bio, private, bio, private, timeline, views, views, code, private, 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 zilus, you go, private, zero, private, view, position, private, you position, view, to, private, private view, view, position, position, view, private, 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 higher rapidly loses this view, view, bow, bow, parallel, courage view, while the view, well, the valley, bell, visits you, while the village, where is the where is the she traded her vice to the sea witch and got legs Ariel's. Whole thing is breaking away from exactly what her society is asking her to do, sewing, by it saying that the heteronormative read is completely illegitimate, but for people to treat it like that's the only read is lazy and basic, and I'm just kind of tired of it. So anyway, so the Og short story is gay af moving on part something, the Disney version is gay if to just not in the same way they weren't kidding when they called me, well, a witch in the early days of queer theory. This was like, why are all the villains queer-coded? Oh, I shall practice me curtsy, but now we've more or less come around to the correct opinion, which is the best they are extremely queer-coded, and also they are awesome, and we stand My last captain of the guard was a bit of a disappointment to few me. Also more the queer code, do to, was turning blue to do to farewell, but more, but more, be well, be wary, be well, be wary, then. Do well. Where, still, well, me away, where, why, where, who knew, where, why, this is where, where. So why will go? Where say the real. Mr. Vader. It makes me come, and female troubles I hate you. Voice actress Pat. Give me the shoe bitch and she ends up as sort of a composite of drag and campikins. Joan Collins. No, you know where to find the boys and the booze. Tallulah Bankhead. Me good woman. Would you kindly leave the premises before I grab your pink hair and put it out by Black Roots? 3 days Norman Desmond. All right, Mr. DeMille. I'm ready for me close-up, and of course divine you a pain to like in a lot of ways. This goes beyond coding. This is clearly deliberate, especially considering how much poor unfortunate souls resembles our traditional druid. Balduzinan, Balduzai, Io, you'll file, Io, Helen, Helen, I'll, Io, Io, Hal, Io, 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 I have this design that I have I found I will so I view I have I got I have said this I said this so I will go I refresh you I view I have food oh this is so oh you will oh, you well use well you very oh you serve you parts of you oh you does you I so you show you I'll I will I'll be saved I'll be well I'll have I know, I usually, also, I sure see you, I lose it, I lose it, I do you, so lose it, I, I, I feel like he was at his strongest writing with Ashman. Ashman was deathly ill during the production of Beauty and the Beast, and if you really want some heartstrings tug, listen to the people who worked with him described the way he kept on trucking until the very end. Howard was physically there. He had lost a lot of weight. He was, he was wearing his shirt with suspenders, and trying to be as casual as possible, and certainly didn't want to project any sense of illness. At that point nobody else professionally knew that he was sick. Another thing that tends to get lost in analysis of this movie, Menken and Ashman had a huge influence. Not only did they help shape the story, they had the songs and score written before animation even began, and in that way also helped shape the characters, particularly Ursula, who is defined by her big musical number. The boss is on a roll. Oh, that's Menken and Ashman, Ursula. So I don't read this as Disney being appropriative to me. This is Ashman writing what he knows. So in me away, old age Ursula is far and away my favorite thing in this movie, possibly because I am only about 3 years away from morphing into her completely, but I love Ursula. I older I get as a brand Disney villain, I am. I will be of you always zero. I am you. Well, you will be I think I will be why. I think I am this is it. Wave. But we Chloe what will we do? What will we do? Well, we are well, you zoo, the zoo, you zoo, 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 to zoo, 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 Come on, boys, want you shake a poor sinner's hand. And I don't to know what it is about evil without nuance that I find so appealing in the case of Disney villains, but I think it's really just the fact that they having fun, that everyone in a Disney movie is having fun, including the bad guy. This is why of classic Disney, I think Maleficent is the most beloved. She out of all of them is having a high old time. People don't remember that pie, pie, pie. I, 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 have, I, They remember Cruella. Look at how much fun she's having. This is part of why of the Renaissance Disney movies the most beloved ones tend to have the most memorable villains. Why do we even have that level? And that's part of why the Black Cauldron is widely considered the worst one. I am sorry, guys. I know you love John Hurt, but he sucks in this. Oh, me soldiers, how long I have thirsted to be a god. In fact, the Black Cauldron nearly ended the animation studio until the Great Mouse Detective, the best Sherlock Holmes movie of all time, dawned at me, quite literally saved the studio. Smile, everyone, Disney now owns the world. Thank you, the Great Mouse Detective. I have the power. Of course you do. I feel like it's not one of those situations like the Hunchback of Notre Dame where we all kind of reevaluate whether it got a fair shake upon its first release because I'm losing to our bird. Everybody likes The Little Mermaid and you know it's not bad. It's not the best one, it's fine, but you know there was that backlash that was kind of lazy and targeting the popular thing because that was what the clickbait was for a while, but thank God we've moved on and now our clickbait is like I don't to know Rufo's wall. What a good Sigu Hi. I'm Alan Smithy, the director of this film. Are you tired of science fiction books with lyrical poetic prose? Do you like weird space aliens? Are you a fan of the comical misuse of everyday household? I guess I didn't really do that today. That was a missed opportunity. I should have done that, but you didn't. Well, you should pre-order my book, Truth of the Divine. It is the second book, meaning it's the sequel to the first book, which is Action's End. Oh boy. See, this is what he all tuned in for. This is the requisite self-promo portion. I'm gonna do better this time because it is a better book. It's got everything: the Cheesecake Factory President Dick Cheney congressional hearings, Persians, sadness, and the reason I promote these now is that pre-orders are extremely helpful, not just for me, but for any author you want to. So if you have a favorite author you want, Bo, Bolly, Bo, Bo, Bolly, Bolly, Bio, and Bolio, Bio, Lily, Bolly, Bodo, Bio, Lily, Bo, Bio, Leo, Bolin, Bio, Bo, 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 Bio, Zoo, Bio, 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 Coville, Co, Bio, Pile, 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 No, they haven't told me yet. I'll put that in the next video. But if it's anything like last time, it's so putting your receipt for the thing you already bought into Leica online portal. I don't know. I'll let you know later. It's gonna be great. So the pre-order link for Truth of the Divine is in the description unless you are in the UK, in which case pre-order the book through your favorite UK-based online retailer because the UK edition has a different publisher and that has caused some confusion. This also applies to Australia, New Zealand, but not Canada, and for those of you in the rest of the world, I don't know use of, I have no control over how to ship to what country or foreign language rights. So far the only country that has bought foreign language rights is Turkey. No, I'm not kidding. I know Brazilians. I know, consider petitioning your publishers. Also, I will come to Brazil. I promise we were gonna go in 2020, but there was, there was a thing hand to your very, very large crest. We were gonna come in 2020. We'll come eventually, so anyway, pre-order Truth of the Divine, about which the New York Times has said nothing because they haven't gotten a review copy yet. But in the meantime, thank you for watching, and I hope you spend the rest of your Pride Month standing Ursula don't be scared. It's only me, and you can all come. Everyone can come. Every creature in the sea can come, her father. Sorry I'm late. Well, I'm not leaving you up there alone at this time. You mean you'll go with me? It doesn't look like I have a choice, so it'll be so much fun. You'll all see. Come on. Let's go. Hardly wait. I'm not a fish. I'm a dolphin. I'm dolphin. Fit. That's not very nice to say. Your official royal pet. Don't you like him? Did you hear that? Cecil the prince is gonna marry her. Well, I hope so. Claudia hopes so. Stop the storm away, ski creatures. Oh, you mean they re-getting married?